greatly to be praised, and his greatness is unsearchable. In other words, you can't measure God's greatness. You can't measure what God can do in your life. He does, number 2, he does mighty acts across many generations. Read verse 4. One generation shall praise thy works to another, and shall declare thy mighty acts. In other words, God's glory is going to go from generation to generation. Who am I talking to? And number 3, he is full of glorious splendor. In verse number 5, he said, I will speak of the glorious honor of my majesty and of thy wondrous work. Because, God, you are worthy. You are miraculous, God. You can work anything that you want to work. Ain't nothing impossible for my God. Who am I talking to today? And he also says in number 4, he said, he does wonderful and awesome works. In verse 6 it says, and men shall speak of the might of thy terrible act, and I will declare thy greatness. Because, God, you do awesome work, God. When I was hungry, you fed me, God. When I didn't have no food in my icebox, you put food in it, God. When I was thirsty, God, you gave me drink, God. When I was naked, you clothed me, God. You do awesome work, God. Ain't nobody like you, God. Because I serve a God that is a magnificent God, a marvelous God. Number 5 is, he is a righteous God. How many of you know he's righteous today? How many of you know he's righteous today? And verse 7 says, they shall abundantly honor the memory of thy great goodness, and shall sing of thy righteousness. And when God brings you out, you can't do nothing but say he's a righteous God. Am I talking to anybody today? How many of you know he's a righteous God? How many of you know you serve a righteous God today? Number 6 is he is a gracious, and he's compassionate, he's patient, and he's a loving God. How many of you know he's a loving God? He's a patient God. He's a compassionate God. In number 8 and 9, verses 8 and 9, the Lord is gracious and full of compassion, slow to anger, and of great mercy. The Lord is good to all, and his tender mercies are all over all his works. In other words, God is a gracious God. He is a compassionate God. He is a patient God. And he's also a loving God. Number 7 says, he rules over an everlasting kingdom. How many of you know that he rules an everlasting kingdom? Heaven and earth shall pass away, but God rules through his word. How many of you know he's ruling through his word right now? Verse 13 said, thy kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and thy dominion endures through all generations. I don't care what man try to do. I don't care what man try to say. I don't care how the scientists say this. I don't care how theologians say this. Ain't but one God that know all things and can do all things. And he's the Father of all generations. He's the everlasting Father. He's the King of all kings. And his kingdom going to endure forever. It's God that made daylight saving time. It's God that can make the sun go down. It's God that can make the moon rise up. It's God that can cause it to rain when it looks like it's supposed to be hot. It's God that can cause clouds to come when it's 98 degrees outside. It's God that can cause the clouds to move and let the sun shine. I don't care if they say it's going to snow Monday. It's God that can hold the snow back. It's God that can make the sun shine. I don't know what you're going through in your home, but I serve a God that's able to come in and sweep your house, clean everything up, because I know my God is an everlasting God, and his kingdom is everlasting. Somebody give him praise. Number 8 says, he is our source of all our needs. He's the source of all our needs. Verse 15 says, the eyes of all wait upon thee, and thou givest them their meat in their due season. In other words, he is the God that will give you everything and meet all your needs. Number 9, he returns near to those who call on him. He returns near to those who that call on him. In verse 18 says, the Lord is nigh unto all them that call upon him, to all that call upon him in truth. If we're going through some things, only God can bring us back to the truth. Only God can cause us to get sick and tired of being sick and tired. Going through the same things in life. Going in a circle. Doing the same thing over and over. How many of you ever got sick and tired? How many of you tried your best and got hurt? How many of you tried your best and wanted to give up? But you turned to God and called on his name. Y'all don't hear me. David knew he had messed up. David knew his children were coming against him. David knew he had a man killed. But David still called on the name of the Lord. And the Lord brought him out and raised him up. How many of you know God will still raise you up? I don't care what you've done. God can still able to bring you out of it. God is still able to raise you up. Number 10 says, and he hears our cry and he saves us. Verse 19 and 20. He will fulfill the desires of them that fear him. He also will hear their cry and will save them. The Lord preserve all them that love him. But all the wicked will what? Be destroyed. If you got wickedness in you, you're going to destroy yourself. It ain't God that's destroying you, but you're going to destroy yourself. But if you're a person that loves the Lord, if you love the Lord and fear him, and if you ask God to come into your heart and change your life, God is able to come in and look at a neighbor and say, only God can raise you up. When you get sick and tired, only God can bring you out. How many of you had to cry to the Lord before? How many of you truly had to cry to the Lord? How many of you had to cry to him when you were tired? Felt like you wanted to give up. Or it looked like you just were hurt on every side. But you cried out and God stepped in. How many of you know that God knows when it's time for you to come out of something? One thing about it, God promises to raise you up. God made a promise that he was going to raise you up. Didn't he do it for the Israelites? And he said he was going to do it from generation to generation. Keep raising his people up. How many of you know you're his people today? Go with me to Isaiah chapter 40. God promised to raise you up. Look at a neighbor and say, God made a promise to you. And say he's going to keep it. Isaiah 40, verse 29 through 31. He gave power to the faint. And to them that had no might, he increased strength. Oh, y'all don't hear me. When you lost all your might, when you wanted to give up, how many of you ever found some strength somewhere? How many of you ever found some strength somewhere? Oh, man, it wasn't no strength that the devil gave you. It wasn't nothing that was superficial. It wasn't nothing that wasn't real. This strength came from nobody but the mighty God. This strength was real, y'all. How many of you God gave some strength to? Oh, y'all won't hear me. How many of you ever been in a relationship and just got tore up inside? But you found some inner strength. God gave you that inner strength. He gave you power when you were weak, when your knees, when you were about to give up. And to them that had no might, he increased their strength. In other words, when you were about to give up, there was something that made you pray. Something that made you trust in the Lord and say, Lord, help me, Jesus. I got weak now, God. I know this ain't me, God. I need to really find myself, God. I'm about to lose my mind, God. I'm about to kill myself, God. I can't go through this no longer. But your strength was increased right there. Because you said, Lord, even though I want to give up, God, there's something inside of me that's telling me I'm better than that. I'm better than this. I can do better than this. I can't give up. I can't give up. How many of you have ever felt that way? And then say, I can't give up. Look at a neighbor and say, I can't give up. It might not look right in my home right now, but I can't give up. It might not look right on my job right now, but I can't give up. People might be talking about me, but I can't give up because my strength comes from the Lord, and God will increase my strength. How many of you know that when people, you doing everything you can to help some people, and don't nobody want to help you in return, but your strength don't come from people, your strength comes from God. When you keep on doing what's right, God's going to increase your strength. When you keep on doing what's right, God is enlarging your territory. When you keep doing what you're supposed to do, God is going to keep his hands upon you so no enemy can harm you. I don't care what kind of poison you drink, God's going to turn it into good food. You're going to eat it and not going to be harmed. I don't care what kind of devil bites you. God's going to cause you to shake him off into the fire because God is increasing your strength. In other words, everything that you're going through, it's not to destroy you, but it's to build you up. It's to keep strengthening you that you can go on. Because someday you're going to be able to hold your head up and say, I'm not going to take it no more. I'm not going through it no more. You're not going to do me like that no more because God has given me the strength to tread over serpents and scorpions. And I declare today that I am what God says I am. I can do what God says I can do. I can be what God told me I can be. Somebody give him praise. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your name. In verse 20, in verse 30, the Bible said, even the youth shall faint sometime and be weary. Even though young folk might get weak and get weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. You're going to see people falling from the left and to the right. You're going to see people all in your family give up and throw in the towel. You're going to see people all on your job lose their cool and curse out the boss. You're going to see your children come in the house and tell you off sometime. But you still got to know that God is increasing your strength. Your children might mistreat you. Your children might not neglect you. Might say you ain't my daddy. Might say you ain't my mama. And it might hurt sometimes, but God's still increasing your strength. You might go to your daughter's house. You might go to your son's house, seeing them doing things they shouldn't. But God's still increasing your strength. Because when you walk away from them, somebody say when you walk away. In verse 31, the Bible says, but they, somebody say they, but they that wait upon the Lord. Even though you're going through, I'm still waiting. Even though the enemy fighting, I'm still waiting on the Lord. Well, he will increase my strength. He gonna mount up like wings of an eagle. They shall run. When he give you strength, you're gonna be able to run and not get weary. You're gonna be able to run and not give up. Even though the enemy is all behind you, God's gonna give you some strength to outrun that devil. Y'all don't hear me. Even though the enemy think he got the best of you. Not only that, every now and then, God says you got to stop and walk sometime. And when you walk, the Bible says you still won't faint because you waited on your season. When you get tired of running and start to walk, when you're walking, the devil thinks you're going to get tired, but you're just taking it cool now because God has given you strength to walk now and let the devil know I waited upon the Lord. When I was tired, I didn't give up. Now I can walk with my head held up. I can walk and serve notice to all my haters and make them mine congratulators. I can make them my motivators. Hate on me now, but I'm renewing my strength day by day. Though they talk about me, though they slay me, yet will I trust him. I'm a trust in him. I'm a lean on him. I'm a power on him. I'm an exalt his name forever. And the praises shall continuously be my